Oh, boy. What's up, guys? It's Steve Oatley, your favorite freight broker. I am going to talk. So, as you can see, I didn't put up the background. God, I always forget to shut off my phones. Hold on one second. So, let me take these loads down. Hold on. Dispatch. Kiss me. Yeah, it's that load's covered. I got to take it down. All right. So delete these loads. So, as you guys know, we had Hurricane Dorian, which was a big clusterfuck of nothing. Nothing happened. So I was locked in my house with my wife and kids for 4 days for no reason whatsoever. I did shaved off the beard for whatever reason, call it boredom, whatever. So yeah, basically today I'm going to talk about some of these FEMA loads because everyone's seen for the past weekend that there's FEMA loads all over the place, and everyone's posting them, and I'm going to give my experiences as a broker and as a carrier handling FEMA loads. I don't really have much as a broker, but as a carrier, I do. So I wanted to just address some of those things before people got too carried away with them. And to be honest, I mean, people are holding loads, and if this thing doesn't make landfall and doesn't really flood and doesn't do everything, because they're saying now, I just got emergency declarations again for South Carolina saying that they're preparing for flooding like they've never seen before. Well, they also said this thing was going to make landfall directly where I live, and it didn't. So I essentially wasted 3 days locked in my house with my kids and having the windows and everything, having everything covered and all that shit. Plus, today wasn't a busy day. I booked one load, and the driver just emailed me and said that he needs to cancel it. So, but it is what it is. I figured as much. But at any rate, I'll answer this email after I'm done with this video. So yeah, so jumping right in, we'll talk a little bit about, well, first I'll give the intro. For those who don't know who I am Steve. I am a freight broker. I also have this little side thing, which is Freight Broker Live. It's an online news source and blah, blah, blah. I basically want to be the resource to provide free information to the industry, whether you're looking to become a carrier, looking to become a truck driver, looking to become a broker, dispatcher, whatever. I don't care. I've been in the industry now for 15 years as a driver, as a broker, as a carrier, as everything. Normally, I make this a little bit more theatrical with shit on the back, but I'm not going to today. So today is just going to be cut and dry. So again, as I was talking about Hurricane Dorian, which was a big clusterfuck of nothing. Like I said, I'm in Southern Florida, right on the East Coast. So, literally like 20 minutes from the beach. So we were expecting that it was going to hit, and being that it was my first hurricane, I did everything that normal people do, and I prepared like crazy and put up all the shutters and went and bought a generator and spent a bunch of money that I didn't need to, and we went stockpiled food, which we ate within the first 24 hours. So we had to go back out and get more, and everything was closed. We had to pay premium, blah blah blah. It was pointless. Now I know the Bahamas got decimated by it, and I'm the thoughts are with those guys. But I guess it's good to see how a town reacts when there is a hurricane. But it was pointless. It was pointless. Nothing happened at all. And they're saying in South Carolina that it's going to get crazier, and they're going to have historic flooding and all this stuff. So I hope it doesn't. But it could be. It could be bad. We got Don here. What's up, buddy? Bailey Brokerage is here. Paul Johnson. Well, he's here and he's home with a keyboard. But I don't know. You haven't done any FEMA loads. I don't know how much you're going to be able to converse about this stuff from what I understand. So I'll jump right into it. So, and I'm only going to cover a couple of targeted things. You know, as everyone sees, everyone's posting that they're getting $10,000 for 500 miles and this and that and all that. Hey, and it's possible. I know it's possible. It doesn't mean that you're always going to get it, but it's possible. And that's simply because demand will be increased, which means more money. The more they need your trucks and the more they wait, the more the more that they're going to pay you. The government is the one forking the bill, so you're going to be able to get quite a bit more money. I've seen people say they're getting $10,000 for 800 miles. Who knows whether that's true, but whatever. You have all the HOS, that are all thrown out, hours of service. They're all thrown out, so you can do whatever the hell you want in terms of driving and all that. But there's a couple of key things, which is what I'm going to talk about now. Wait times are extreme. Meaning you go down, you sit, and you park. Unless you're doing a drop trailer thing, you're going to sit. So I always just say, prepare your truck. Make sure your truck is full with everything you need: food, clothes. Make sure you've showered before you go. Otherwise, you're just going to be like any other stinky ass truck driver. If you have satellite in it, it'll work. Hopefully during the storm, because normally you're in a staging area anyway, and you wait for them to allocate where they need that. The product, whatever you're hauling down there. So that's kind of common sense. Make sure you have fuel, make sure everything, because it's going to be hard. If you take your truck all the way down and you don't fill up where you can fill up, you're going to get into an area where they don't have a lot of fuel. So just, make sure you have fuel in your truck, make sure you have food, make sure you have clothes, make sure you have, everything that you'll need to survive a couple of days in your truck, because you will wait. You get paid to wait, but nonetheless, you still wait. FEMA freight, government freight in general, is slow pay. Unless you're opting, and the majority of it is handled directly through brokers anyway. So I have a couple of keys to this, and some brokers that watch this are going to get pissed off. I don't recommend hauling FEMA freight for small brokers. I only recommend hauling it for big brokers. Now, are you going to make less money? Who knows? But the fact is a lot of the new brokers that are just getting set up and they're super excited because they're going to make all this money on the FEMA loads, they don't understand that it's going to take them a long time to get paid. And if they take a long time to get paid and they're paying you a shit ton of money, unless they have money to float and to be able to pay that, you're going to end up waiting a long time too. And that's why I always say, just use the bigger brokers. It's you more often than not, you can either factor it if you're factoring, or you can do some sort of quick pay or advances, or a lot of little brokers don't have the resources to give you a fuel advance or all that. And so I recommend just, if you have to use a broker and you're not set up to haul FEMA shit direct, which you could easily do, go register for SAM. I'm not going to talk about it that much, but you can do it yourself. Everyone can, even you little hotshot guys out there, Paul. It's slow. The government pays slow. Average is like 45 days for FEMA stuff. And that seems like it's not slow, but when you're running big loads and your truck is sitting because you're waiting for them to decide what they're going to do with the freight, it adds up, so those are the main focuses on it. I don't talk about how to find FEMA shit, because you could find it easily. Do a Google search on FEMA freight and you'll have a million responses. That you just go to sam.gov or whatever, register with them, and then pay attention to the bids and shit like that. But yeah, just whoever's hauling the FEMA shit, just be careful. Because a lot of brokers, you hear about it usually about 30, 40 days after a natural disaster, people start jumping online, bitching about brokers who never pay them. And it happens all the time. And it's not, who knows whether it's because of brokers being shady or whatnot, but it happens all the time. But yeah, so Paul says he doesn't haul FEMA loads. I didn't think so. You're too new to do it. They don't call me Tiny Trucker for nothing. Yeah. You still can find FEMA shit for hot shots, just not quite as much. You can haul generators. A lot of people are doing that. They're hauling generators for $3 a mile, just bobtailing around. I know people that do that, but again, you use the small brokers, you run the risk of not getting paid. I think it was last year, there was with the shit in Panama, I forgot what hurricane it was, but when it hit Panama and Florida, or the panhandle there, it decimated them. And they had one guy that was running hot shots, making these little generator deliveries all over the place. And myself, because I was dispatching at the time, I pulled a shit ton of trailers out of there for both power only semis and hot shots. We pulled them out and we made great money. But we booked him with the big broker, so we didn't have to worry about getting paid. But I know there's a guy that was having all these generators pulled, FEMA generators, and he ended up taking the money and just running. So, and he didn't pay anybody. And Paul says, we're not hot shots, we're light duty efficient truckers. Yeah. I'm not going to get into that right now. I don't feel like it. So I've been in like a funk, I guess, you know, because it's fucking Wednesday. I haven't done anything. I booked one load today because I was just trying to get everything all caught up. And then that load just canceled on me because they didn't have enough space, even though they clearly did. Or they may not have enough space, but they just booked it anyway, knowing how long it was. But it is what it is. What else you guys want to talk about today? Like I said, I don't have much. You know, we talked about the hurricane. I saw there's a YouTube video because basically when I'm researching my site and everything that I do, I was looking around on YouTube and I saw that if you search freight broker, there's someone that pops up, you know, two before me now. And he was advertising his thing and, you know, CEO and what it stands for and this and that and how to be a broker, and everyone's being a broker and brokers make $100 and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then sign up for his course, $2,500. And then, so I did a little background on him like I do with everyone that I want to talk about. Here's a fun fact. If you guys insist on paying for a shitty freight broker course, or not even, or maybe they just present and they're a salesperson and they're able to talk and do all that stuff, make sure that the person has experience. You know, the guy that was advertising on YouTube, he's been a freight broker / carrier with no experience in the industry beyond 2018. That's a year ago. So anyone that's dumping money and paying this much money for someone to teach them how to do something that's relatively easy. I mean, brokering is a little bit more complex because you have to do sales and shit like that. Dispatching, you know, that guy, Greg McLean, he posted a video, which I don't approve his videos on any of my pages, but he posts that he's going to train people how to dispatch for $149. Now, full disclosure for anyone who's never watched my videos, I owned a training company. And so I still have all the material, which I'm going to be putting next month on my site for free if anyone wants to see that shit. But I used to train people. And the reason why I stopped doing it is because I didn't feel like people were getting out they weren't getting from it what I wanted them to. So it didn't work. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to feel like people weren't learning from what I was putting together. So I shut it all down, you know, I don't know, man. I don't like to harp on anybody. You guys know that. The people that watch my videos all the time know that. I don't really blast on people too much, but that guy, you know, don't pay him. Don't pay. He's just in the same league as RBBS or whatever that bullshit guy is too. And don't do those, you know, that's it. We got some questions here. Paul says, how accurate are lane rates posted on DAT? Are they pretty good? Most of the time we've upgraded to pro and it's been helping a couple of loads. We had a load that paid half the lane rate. I brought that up and they immediately agreed to pay the lane rate. Is that common? No, basically, what they're doing there is if they immediately went and they agreed to pay the lane rate, if they weren't a direct shipper, then they already had that money in it. They base their rate off of the lane rate, same way I do. So when I calculate a rate as a broker, I look up the DAT rate, I look up the truck stop rate, and I look up our averages, what we've paid. Typically DAT's 15 days. So they go back from 15 days and look up what's been paid to carriers because they get all their information in from all the TMS systems, all the TMS systems that you guys use daily, or that brokers use, like Ascend and all that. They just feed data. It's part of their arrangement. So they pull data from that on lane rates and what's been covered. And so they see, you know, how much the average truck is, and they go and average it for the lane, and that's how they get their rates. So when I calculate a rate, I use DAT, I use truck stop, and then I use our, you know, internal rates, because DAT is sometimes wrong, truck stop is wrong more. And then, you know, our industry average, everyone knows that because some guys take loads for cheaper. So what I do is I kind of average the three together, and then it gives me the difference, or it gives me the target rate of what I should rate it as. But when a broker has, actually I could put this up, I think. Yeah. So when a broker has, when they have enough money in it, it's because they already had enough money in it. They quoted it correctly and we're trying to get it for cheap. So I don't, a lot of these times where you say the load paid half of the lane rate, I brought it up and they immediately agreed to pay the lane rate. Is it common? No. Were they trying to move it as a full truckload or a partial? Who knows? Because I'm not there. it's that a lot of that is subjective, man. And not, I mean, Paul, you've been pretty honest in every video, but you hear these guys that are like, oh, I was offered $1,200 on a full truckload rate. And then, then I got them up to $2,500. And then I got the carrier invoice and they're paying $5,000. I understand that all drivers, owner ops, even company drivers that have no business even talking about it, all think that they're entitled to get a certain amount. So 97, 98, 99% of what the load costs. There was comments earlier today where a carrier was getting paid a certain amount, and they're like, well, or they wrote that the broker was probably getting paid more than they were, or one guy said, oh, I did a $500 load and found out the broker was getting, $450. So it was a $950 load. Who gives a shit? If you guys are the ones taking the load, who cares what the broker makes? And that's me. That's coming from a broker. If you guys are the ones taking these shitty rates, of course the broker's going to do it. That's supply and demand essentially. If there's trucks that are going to take shitty low rates, it's going to make all the rates low. If everyone holds out and tries to get better rates for it, then either the broker is going to have to go back and get more money from the customer, or just put more on if they have more money on it. I get a lot of just it's kind of mind blowing, you said you're entitled to what you agree to ship for, in my opinion, meaning you. So what you say you're going to ship it for, not what the broker says they're going to ship it for. If there's a level of sales, so it's the same thing with anything. If you're out selling something, there's a markup. You buy a cell phone from the Sprint store. If it's a franchise Sprint store, they're getting that phone for a certain cost. They're marking it up. There's no set fixed market rate on how much they mark up. They're selling something. So they're marking it up and selling it to you as a profit. Now, could you go to a wholesaler and get that price different, or get it so you're paying a little bit less, and then the broker's or the salesperson is definitely selling it for less? Yeah, because they're doing it in volume. It's the same premise that I base my volume broker business off of. It's the same thing. Now, a lot of people are out there saying every broker should be making like $100 or $200 or whatever, $300, whatever. No one says that, but it's very unrealistic, So if you're saying that, Paul, if you're saying you're entitled to what you agree to ship for it, meaning that a carrier is entitled to whatever the broker is paying, that doesn't make any sense. And if you're saying maybe you're saying if the broker says, hey, brokers don't give full disclosure to their customers. So a broker's not saying, hey, it's going to cost me $3,500 to do it, so I'm going to bill you for it. That's not the way brokers talk to customers more often than not. Like, for example, I had a load today. Customer wanted $1,250 or $1,205. Super cheap load going somewhere I couldn't. So I went to the customer and said, listen, I can do it for $1,305. Customer already knows that I'm just making $100 off it because I sell his rate. He knows what it is. So he's like, I do $1,250. I can't do that because I still have a minimum that I want to attain. So my minimum is $50 per load is what I want to make, because I still pay its percentage and all that crap. So I said, no, I kicked it back. But then what I did is I provided him with the carrier and said, here's you can go direct with him. The sell rate was $1,205 on it. The reason why I did that is because it makes the customer look at me as much better, because he knows that I'm not making money on it, but he's more often than not going to give me money. So it works out to the benefit. But Paul said, right, that's what I'm saying. If you agree to take a shitty load, that's your problem. You're allowed to say no to a load. If everyone says no, guess what? The broker won't move that load. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. So I guess we were saying the same thing. I just didn't know what that was. A lot of times when I'm reading a comment, I don't have someone on the phone. So it makes it like you're saying the wrong thing. So, and like here, you said, I'm agreeing with you, but you texted that like 4 minutes after I started the dialogue. But that's just one thing you guys have to realize is I know there are greedy ass brokers out there, and they're greedy ass drivers too. There's greedy ass company owners, and there's greedy ass everybody. Everybody's greedy. This is the way the world works. Everyone wants to make money. Your operating costs aren't the same as Joe Blow's trucking. And Joe Blow's trucking's operating costs aren't the same as Joanne Blow's trucking. You know what I mean? It's all different. So you have to get it, and you can't say, because there's a push for legislation for brokers to cap how much they're allowed to make, which is fucking stupid. And I know this is going to piss off some of you owner ops and stuff, but it's dumb. It's not. How are you going to limit what a freight broker can make when you guys can't even get on the same page and say, okay, I'm going to charge at least what that is for the rate. And if people actually hold off and say, hey, I'm not going to run my truck unless it's making what dad is paying, like, what are you guys doing? It doesn't make sense for people to say, oh, we got to regulate freight brokers more than they already are, because we're not getting because freight brokers make and see, a lot of that's stupid too, because people just think of brokers are making a shit ton of money all the time. Now, are they making money on these FEMA loads? I have no idea. As I said in the beginning of the video, I don't do anything with FEMA. You know, when I first joined Trinity, I was thinking about it just because it's a big company. It would be easy to cover them, but they already do them. So I'm not going to mess with them. I don't really care that much. I don't want to be I'm part of Team Rubicon anyway. So if I get deployment orders, I'm going to go volunteer somewhere and be gone for a week or two. You know, so I don't want to take on something that could potentially, you know, I won't be here. And then Paul says, I'm going to go make a pork chop. Don't worry, I have you on my headset. I'll be listening. I know you don't have to read all of these live. Yeah. But no, I do. I try to read them, especially if I don't have like a built dialogue, you know, and that's the reason why I like making these videos, because it's my opinion about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. You know, a lot of people, and that's true. A lot of people just, people are like, and I don't mean to say that, but people are sometimes very, very dumb. You know, to say that brokers need to be regulated, that's like me saying all carriers need to be regulated, which they are to a certain extent. But let me go a step further and say each model truck has to be a 2007 or newer, or, you know, or what. It's just, it's stupid. It's stupid. And it's not a valid argument. And people make it all the time and say, well, brokers make all this money and I got to do this and I got to do that. And it's just, come on, man. You know, I think what needs to happen is that carriers first need to set that baseline. Say, okay, I'm not running the truck for less than this. This is what I am running my truck for. And then, because what that'll do is it'll make all the rates start coming up. You know, if you got Joe Blow's trucking, you know, whose operating costs are 89 cents a mile, and he's just taking every fucking shitty load, it's going to happen. I move loads every day that I swear when I get the list in the morning, I'm like, I am not moving that load. Every single day, somebody takes it. And like I said, I don't actively cover loads. So meaning I post them out and I sit and wait for my phone to ring. I don't call out on loads unless it's a load, you know, that's call outable, if that makes sense. You know, the loads that I have now aren't. They're cheap and people don't want them, essentially. You know, so that's just one major, you know, thing about my book of business. It's a little bit different than some of the other people's out there. But yeah, you know, and I guess, you know, I wrote an article this morning and I posted on my site, which again, if you guys don't know who I am or anything, like my Facebook page, which is right below. I got a YouTube, which you can link off of this video, I believe. Or you can go to my website, which is freightbrokerlive.com. So I basically, what I'm trying to do is treat it like a blog, a news blog, plus make these videos. And eventually I'll have the free training shit up there. I'm working on getting more advertising up. So it kind of pays for it a little bit. I've made a total of $15 on that website this month because of views and advertising. And I've had a lot of people actually go to it, which is pretty rad to me. But yeah, and then anyone who's looking for a free 30 days on Trucker's Edge, use that code 408339 when you go to truckersedge.com / blah, blah, blah. That'll give you a free 30 days on Trucker's Edge, Debt Power, whatever. It'll on all of them. If you're a broker, contact me and I'll give you a free 15 days for the broker. But yeah. So like I said, I don't like to do a bunch of different targeted advertising through these. I'm working with Sirius right now to get a discount for people that are looking for satellite radio in their trucks or in the office, because I always have it playing here in the office. Or I watch the news, one or the other, just because it's awesome and it's good. Paul, you have your kid yet? I just realized that's why you're at home. Hopefully you did, and hopefully everything's well. And if not, it's going to be any day soon. But yeah, so that's it. You know, one of the articles I wrote today is about that fucking retard truck driver that got laid off and went on the shooting range. And I don't know. I don't talk news like that very much because I'm very political, and I try to keep the politics away from my dialogue as much as I can in these videos because it's shitty, you know. And I know that shooting kind of it got sidelined because of you know, this bullshit hurricane that never made landfall here. As you can tell, I have animosity because I was expecting a hurricane. I was expecting shit to happen. I was expecting, you know, to make use of the generator I went out and paid premium for. I was expecting to, you know, have something hit the house instead of me spending 15 minutes on each single window putting up these hurricane shutters that I had to take down this morning at 6 o'clock so we could finally see out of here. It was stupid. That this guy, what his name, Seth something. I guess he got laid off in Odessa from an oil field company. He started flipping out there apparently, so that both he and the trucking company called the police. Except he didn't make a real threat, and so he left, and the police didn't run there with an urgency because there was no threat actually made. It was just some airhead ranting. And then the guy, as he's driving, calls the FBI, starts doing the same shit, ranting to him. They don't take him seriously, say there's no real threat because he hasn't made any threats. 15 minutes later, he opens fire on a DPS, you know, officer, and then continues to shoot people for the next hour or two. And, you know, he was a truck driver. He killed two other truck drivers and injured another one. You know, in owner ops. It wasn't, you know, these, you know, not that it matters between owner op and company driver. It's just fucking sad, dude. You have people that have built their whole business, you know, owner ops that own a couple of trucks, and they're just shot because of some fucking retard. It's annoying. But Paul said, nope, his due date's coming up. Everything's good, except the wife is almost ready to pull the kid out. Trust me, I got 2 boys, bud. I understand. It's that last bit while you wait for the kid to come is it's trying, to say the least. But Rodney says he's a consultant. He got my start in another industry. However, my industry experience would be beneficial to brokers and carriers alike. I've worked with brokerages and some good results. I specialize in prospecting at scale. I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. I am not a broker or carrier. Any suggestions on how I can help more brokers and carriers? Facebook's group always seem to turn into a screaming match. Well, yeah, because again, I don't know what you're trying to do. If you're trying to sell load lists, everybody does that. You know, I could sell a load list to everyone out there and just be like, okay, here's a list of 500 shippers. That idiot on YouTube that I was talking about before does that. He sells a shipper list of 500 shippers. Those shippers, because you can go out. I could just do it by downloading a Chamber of Commerce thing and get a load list and sorry, I've got like an alarm and it tells me if someone drives by or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to help you do what you're trying to do. That's not what my focus is. I could help people to become salespeople. I could do all that. What I don't care to. You know, I want people to make their own. If you're out here trying to sell load lists, which I don't know if you are, Rodney, but I know that's what a lot of people do, is they go out and try to sell customer lists and all sorts of other scams, because that's essentially what they are. Anyone that's out there trying to buy a shipper list, do not fucking do it. Make your own. Super easy. All right. Kevin said he grew up in Florida and that is life. Don't get lax. Next storm, you'll never know. I know, man. It was kind of my first one too. So we were excited. And then it was a category 5 and blah, 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 and wind and rain and this and flooding and everything. And we're watching it on the news and I'm seeing what's going on in the Bahamas. And I'm like, fuck, you know, and then just nothing here. A couple of big wind gusts and kids lighting off fireworks to scare half of the neighborhood. That's it. That's what happened here. And like I said, we're north of Miami, so it should have, like they said in the beginning, it should have happened. So it's frustrating because I spent all the time preparing for nothing. And I know everyone says, you know, I'll probably have to do that 4 more times this year, maybe, but whatever. Aston said, when a company factor a load for you, they charge 3% of the amount they paid for you. Let's say if profit was $100 and the load was 3,000, technically the factoring company make 90 and you make 10, which is $100 profit, right? If not, please, how does this work exactly? No, that's essentially how it works. And that's why factoring as a broker is hard, because if you're paying 3%, which would be $100 rough, of a $3,000, and you only have $100 profit in it, you're fucked. You're not gonna make any money. And that's why it's very hard for a new broker to work with a factoring company. When we were factoring, when I first started and I was building the app and all this stuff was coming together, we were going to set and do flat factoring for $25 an invoice. Now that's something that's unheard of. They were going to handle all the carrier payables, but we weren't going to get our percentage until the customer paid. And that was kind of like a concession because money wasn't needed, except the app never took off. So I just said, fuck it. And there's other, the guy that was talking, there was someone that was commenting here last week about some software that he, to, meet shippers and receivers. It's UShip. That's essentially what it is. He just created another version of it and said that's different. But I think it's really funny when on the landing page of a website, you list your competitor like 15 times in different statements, saying we're not like UShip, even though you're building the same premise. It's a great idea. UShip was a great idea when it first started. If they took it off, they were essentially the first freight marketplace. They were. There's nobody else that was able to scale up to that level. Now, if they were able to focus, because they integrate LTL, they integrate all that stuff. And do it all the time. Sandy, if you haven't paid attention to any of the other videos, I swear, this is not, I'm not trying to sell myself. I don't care. I have my customers. I'm not trying to please you. I swear, because I deal with truck drivers all day and that's just who I am. If you don't like the video, what I suggest you do is stop watching it. Okay, because I swear, and I give apologies for it sometimes, and now when I swear, I'll go like this because I'm very sad that I'm going to offend Mrs. Sandy Walker. Not really. I swear all the time, and it's a force of habit. And these are, when I release a podcast, I put them as explicit because I do. I swear it's part of life. I deal with truck drivers all day. I used to be a truck driver. I have a wife and kids and life, and this is the purpose of these videos are not for me. I'm not selling anything. I'm not benefiting from these videos. You guys are. I'm not selling a service. I'm not trying to market anything. What I'm doing is I'm talking. And that's that's what I'm doing is I'm talking. It's essentially a talk show. I'm not making any money off of these unless you guys go to the site and click on an ad or something like that, or use the load boards and I get a referral for it. But I guarantee if you want to challenge Sandy, I could say fuck a lot more times. Anyway, Paul said, how do you go about filing on a broker's bond if you need to? We haven't had to yet, but assuming it's not that hard. It's not. It's easy. You just call the bond. You just call the bonding company and say, listen, broker hasn't paid me. I want to file on a bond. It's literally that easy. And you have their bond because you get a copy of it. Plus, if you don't, go over to Safer. They'll have who their bonding company is on Safer, and then you call them directly. More often than not, they'll have, as one of their main options. If you're looking to file a claim, they'll do it. Aaron says, grow up. He is an adult. We deal with BS all day. Exactly. I don't really care. I swear, I apologize if it offends anybody. I'm not going to try to stop because that's the nature of me. I swear, I don't care. It's kind of, I feel bad because, maybe you watch the video and you were trying to do something, but you're a God-fearing person. I can't listen to someone swear. I don't know what to say. Be yourself, cursing and all. If I needed a nap, I'd go watch Freight Waves. That's the best one. I want to pin that one. Yeah, no, that's true. Those are the I'll watch those videos, and I like Freight Waves. People say, what do I have against Freight Waves? I don't. Freight Waves actually reached out to me. I guess it got back to them that I was paying too much. I didn't see a value in paying for Sonar when I was paying $600 a fucking month for it. Or so I swore again, Sandy. Sorry, it just wasn't worth it. Now, is it beneficial to other people? I think now they're doing the hurricane thing for free, which is a great marketing because you're going to look at it and say, oh, I want the software. Or they've created partnerships with other companies so carriers can sign up for very cheap. But Freight Waves is good. I read their I get their emails every single day telling me all the new stories and stuff like that, but I also get them for everybody. I think a lot of the times it's really funny because one of the things I do on my website, which is freightbrokerlive.com, is I link off of other sites. It's basically to drum up, views on my site, website traffic. So I link like overdrive.com. So I'll have an article from there. I link it through my site and then I post it out through a blog distribution. So what it does, it drives traffic to my site, which gets them to see these videos, hopefully, because that is the intent. I always look on FreightWaves to see if there's anything I can link back, and I don't really see much because they either try to be, it almost seems that they try to put a financial spin on everything when, and a lot of times I don't really necessarily agree. I think that a lot of times what actually goes on in the industry cannot be portrayed, or cannot, people don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't see it. So people that are sitting in an office writing an article about something that they don't have any experience in is very hard, you know? And I would write more articles. I sat down this morning to write one because I wanted to write a big opinion piece about this asshole trucker in, I swear again, about this trucker in Texas this weekend. And I wanted to write an opinion piece and just rant and get political about it and guns and all that stuff. I've got guns and I'm going to buy more. And, you know, I have, you know, the concealed carry permit and all that stuff. And that was a pain in the ass to get here in Florida, but I got it, you know, and I didn't need it up in New Hampshire where we lived before. There's all sorts of different things, but I wanted to write about it because apparently the guy got his gun when he shouldn't have got a gun. And that shit pisses me off. Because it ruins it for, you know, this, they're going to run with this now as an example because some idiot wants to shoot people, but whatever. Do you still have the contact form for car hauling and the training you will give access to? What do you mean? So when we were doing car hauling through our brokerage or even our carrier side, we used software for it. So we didn't have any like paperwork or anything like that. The contracts, we used a program called GA Tracker, which had a lot of the software built in, and it's through Central. And then we switched to a different one because we bought leads, so we used a provider for them. But yeah, I have a broker packet, so that'll be uploaded in there. So which is everything a broker would need to open their business, including all the contracts and all that crap. And then the same thing on the carrier side, everything they need. And for shits and giggles, I swore again, I'm going to put a dispatcher setup, you know, what you would need in order to start your own dispatch company and what you should have in contracts, because it doesn't matter. And again, these are all things I used to sell, but I have them and I'm not selling anymore. So I'm just going to put them up for free, and I'm going to make the freight broker course up there. And what I've decided I'm going to do is you could take it, and then afterwards, if you want to pay something for your little certificate, that's not going to mean anything. You know, because all these freight broker classes out here, the only thing that they're going to do is if you find a really good one, they're going to give you a groundwork on how to be a broker or how to be a dispatcher or how to be a carrier. They're not going to give you any sort of certification that stands alone. There's one certifying body for freight brokers, and you can't take it unless you've been working in the field for 5 years or you have a bachelor's degree in the industry plus work for 2 years, and that's through TIA. And that's why I said if you're going to actually pay and fork out money for a course, just take the TIA new broker course. It's going to give you the best level of, you know, understanding to understand the business. And that's if you must take a course. Someone wrote earlier, what do I think about Shaggy Consultant? I don't have a real opinion on the guy. He had me blocked for a long time, which is fine. I don't care. And then he unblocked me when I finally linked to one of his videos, and half of his videos I still can't see. So I don't know if I'm blocked in certain ones when there's a certain context or something, because maybe he knows that I'm going to say something about him. In terms of his classes, I've never heard anything negative about him. So that's as far as I can go on him. You know, they have the other guy that jumps on him now, and he's talking about all the different government shit he has and whatever. And I tried to ask direct questions and didn't get an answer. But if you're going to pay for something, I think he's one of the guys out there he's not teaching. He's teaching you, again, the groundwork. He's laying the groundwork. You can't do anything if you don't know how to do it. But at the same time, any of these guys that are like, oh, I'm going to give you a job after, you're going to be, you know, or the live booking, which is silly. All that stuff doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't recommend anybody. I don't recommend Shaggy. I don't recommend anybody. And the reason I don't is because I don't believe that anybody could get enough knowledge to justify paying for something like that, if that makes sense. That's just me. You know, do I harbor any judgment towards Shaggy? Absolutely not. I think if you already know and you're looking to branch into a different industry, not brokerage, because I don't know what broker experience he has, but he clearly knows a little bit about how to dispatch trucks. You know, I don't know his background on owning trucks. I know he said he did, but I don't know it. or why he doesn't anymore. So I'm not going to go into that much, but you know, all these other guys that are advertising all the time, that you have the Emily lady that advertises a bunch about her $99 freight broker course, and they're tied to some right now load, blah, blah, blah. Just don't do it, guys. That's all I have to say. If you choose to do it, that's fine, you know, but you know, if you go back and watch my videos, because each video is roughly an hour long. In each video, I talk about a topic. You know, if people need me to go through every single step in order to file for your own carrier authority, or every single step to file for your own, you know, broker authority, or every single step to set up a dispatch company, I can make videos on them because they're super easy. You know, I could teach someone how to dispatch from watch, and you guys can just YouTube how to find a load using a load board, and there will be a million different replies on how to do it. All these guys that are like the Greg McLean guy that's charging $149 to teach someone how to dispatch. Dispatching is literally the easiest job I've ever had, and I made more money doing it than I ever have in any other job because it's so easy. It's not hard to find freight on a load board when you already know you are literally working for someone who needs you, and you're calling people who need you to call them, because they need to book the freight. And the driver needs you to find him the freight because he can't do it. Super easy. Once you get, you know, figure out how to do the paperwork and figure out rates per mile and all that stuff, it's super duper easy, you know. And it blows my mind when people talk about bad dispatchers and how, you know, we have bad dispatchers and they leave me stranded, or they can't find freight, or this or that. That's a really sad thing, because it's an easy job. It's super duper easy to be a dispatcher. I said super duper. That's what happens when you're trapped in a house all weekend long. But all right, what else? We got any other questions? I think we just got one, but I'll put this up. So that's the Facebook page, which also, if you click up above somewhere, it'll say like your favorite freight broker. If you click that page, that is the page, and then you can like my page after. Or if you're watching this on YouTube on the replay later, same thing. If you click over on the left-hand side, which will be like, I can't ever get this thing, right where like my tattoo is right there in the corner of the screen, there'll be a button that says like subscribe or something like that on YouTube later. And you can catch these videos. They're all either, if I upload them the way I normally do, then they're broadcasted live to Facebook at the same, or YouTube at the ssame time. Today, I didn't feel like setting up the green screen and messing with that. So I didn't do it. Kevin said, what are these dispatch services going to do when one of their carriers has an accident, has an audit from the FMCSA? The driver is going to point a finger at the dispatch service and crap hits the fan because the dispatch service is not covered or registered with the MC. This is a scary thought. No, not really at all, actually, because under the law right now, and it goes two ways. One, if your dispatch service is paying you, because I've had a couple of people that call me and say, I'm paying a dispatch 12% and I don't want to pay a dispatcher 12%. How can I find someone cheaper? And I'm like, well, that's insane that you're paying them 12%. One person was paying them 12% while every load was booked under that dispatch service because they had an MC. And I know it happens all the time. My buddy at the factoring company said his largest dispatch, or one of his largest carriers does it's the same way. He's only got one truck listed on Safer, but he's got like 100 trucks and he's factoring, 50 to 75 loads a day, because he's running it as a dispatch service and double brokering every single load. And the thing is, the drivers don't care, but your main question here was, the thing is, if you're a dispatcher, so like when I owned a dispatch service, we had a signed power of attorney from every carrier we worked with as part of the requirements to sign up with us. So basically that gives us the right to book loads on their behalf, which means that we are booking loads as that carrier. When we sign it, we are signing as that carrier. We're not signing Joe Blow's dispatch service. We're signing as Joe Blow's the carrier. The company name, MC number, everything is with that carrier, and we have the power of attorney to sign for it. Now, in the year and a half that I dispatched, and we dispatched a lot of trucks, we were asked twice for a copy of that power of attorney, which we sent. Almost 90% of the times, they would call the driver through the Safer and verify that we had the right to book the load for them, which is what they should have done. We also, as a dispatch service, we wouldn't handle anything to do with money. Occasionally we would make an invoice for the carrier and it would say Joe Blow carrier's invoice to the broker. It wouldn't have our name anywhere on it. Our emails, it said our company name on it, but everyone knew that we're dispatching. Typically in the subject line, we had just policies and procedures that we followed that allowed it to go well. And that allowed it to work properly. But to answer your question, that power of attorney essentially makes them, in the eyes of the law as it stands now, they are a bona fide agent of the carrier. Now, I know a lot of people are going to jump on this and say, you're not a bona fide person because you're working on the benefit of quite a few. And I also agree, which is the reason why when we were dispatching, we also got a broker bond just to cover our ass that way. But that would cause problems if you're a broker and your advertising is like, say Bailey's broker. If you were dispatching trucks as well, and it's Bailey brokerage and you're booking loads and they say, oh, what's your email? And you're booking as Joe Blow carrier, but you give them, sales at baileybrokerage.com. They're going to be like, whoa, you're a broker. Is this a double broker load? It's going to start all sorts of uncomfortable questions, it's not illegal now. But I think it's hugging a fine line, and that when I spoke to an FMCSA investigator before we got the bond, he also agreed it was hugging a fine line, and they were going to eventually enforce it. But that's why there's no enforcement. You cannot find one piece of case law where it says that a dispatch company, a true dispatch company that doesn't have any shippers, that only works with brokers and is acting for the benefit of the carrier. Now you run into issues when you're booking a load and say you have two drivers, same exact equipment, two different companies, both empty in the same place, willing to go anywhere. Then there's a little bit of conflict because who do you book loads first? Who gets the load? If one load pays higher than the other, then the other guy can get pissed at you and it causes conflict there. We kind of kept it in the regionals and different dispatchers would work on it. So it wouldn't be, but Rodney said, no list, man. Oh, this is the guy that says doing sales and stuff like that. All right. Yeah, I don't care. You can send me a message, Rodney, and I can plug it later if there's something that's good. Man Meets Singh said, how to get into LTL. As what? As a broker or carrier? As a broker, unless you're a part of a big company that already has an LTL system built, you're never going to be competitive. So don't. If you're a carrier, then book LTL shipments. And not LTL, you're booking partial. You're not going to book true LTL because you'll never be able to compete on their level. But you can book partial. I mean, that's what I did when I had my own trucks. I'd book partials and I'd consolidate them down. For partials, I'd book anything that basically pallets are over, up to, essentially, and then those as part of those. And oftentimes would average way more than load rates because I put 3 or 4 of those things on the truck. But I would cube out. Like we'd tear the pallets down, and the customers knew it. We'd tear the pallets down at one warehouse, cube out the trailer, send it to California, and repalletize everything. So it was kind of a pain in the butt. It's a lot of hands-on, but I would send trucks to California with $1,000 after expense because I'd have 15, 20 different partials on it. You can do it, but you need multiple trucks and a lot. And if you're looking into being LTL as a broker, unless you're partnered with one of the big guys, you're never going to be able to get a huge amount of LTL business. And the margins on LTL are so small. Like I don't do any LTL, and I have an LTL background. There was a guy on this. He watched my videos last week, and he was saying, should he call it? Should he give in? Should he not do this anymore because he was having all these issues? And then come to find out he's part of a company that already has an LTL platform built in that I've mentioned a couple of times on here, and it's an easy sell. And I said, just go do that. You already have it set up. Stop trying to run your own business and utilize that one to grow it. And hopefully he's doing that. He hasn't been watching the videos, so maybe that's what he's doing now, which would be nice. Asen said, as a broker, can you have your own dispatch company and have other people work for you? Yeah, again, it's hairy. Me as a broker, unless if I found out that someone that was booking one of my loads as a dispatcher, meaning that they were working for a carrier and they were booking one of my loads and I'd never worked with them, I would use the excuse, it's a first load, we can't work with you. And I've done that before because I don't want any other brokers soliciting my business. And more often than not, if you get someone that's on the phone as a dispatcher and they know their shit and they're talking and they're clear as day, and from my broker's perspective, they know what they're doing, I am not going to give them a load and run the risk that they're going to back solicit me. Now, like it's easier to go after a carrier because you're going to know who the carrier is. If I give a load to Joe Blow carrier and then I find out 2 months later that the customer has been given loads direct to Joe Blow carrier, then I have a recourse to go after that customer. It's in my carrier contract. Whereas if Joe Blow carrier was tendered the load, but that rate confirmation hit a third party's hands before, and then they started and they solicited that business and it's Joe Blow's brokerage doing it, it's a lot harder for me to connect the dots and to try to recoup some of the lost money. So I don't mess with it that much. So I wouldn't recommend it. You can do it and there's nothing really stopping you, but like I said, I had a dispatch company where we booked 20, 30, 40, 50 loads a day, every single day, 5-6 days a week. And I have every single rate con sitting in Google Drive right now. And if I ever needed to, I could go through all those rate cons and I would have a customer list a mile long. I won't do it because that's, for one, it's just bad. Two, it's screwing over all the people that I worked with, both brokers and carriers. It's not good, and a lot of people, there's one guy that used to be on Facebook all the time selling it. He owned a dispatch company, or said he did, and he's selling the rate cons for the people that he's working for, and people bought them, and which is insane. But yes, you can, and I know there are some big ones. I think King of Freight or one of the other big brokerages out there did it and started a carrier dispatch side. That's how I did it. I was a Landstar agent. And I had a couple of drivers that I talked to on Facebook that wanted some of the loads that I had. And then, they went and delivered and they weren't able to find anything. And they're like, hey, can you find me something? And I was like, well, sure, I'll take a look. And I found them loads. I built them loads. I booked the loads. And I remember the first one, because the first one I booked him a $2,500 load. He's like, how much do you want? I said, I don't know. And he like Zelled or quick paid me $50. And I'm like, holy shit. That was easy because all I did is I looked on the load boards, which I've done before, and I found him a load and I handled some paperwork. And so I ended up building up the dispatching side that way, and originally I was trying to just put everything through Landstar, double brokering all the freight. And then it didn't make sense. It was costing too much and, all that stuff. So, I just split off and did it, myself through the dispatch company. But any other questions? So that's about it. Like I said, I'm just going to go back and plug my website and then I'll probably end this if there's no other videos. So if you go over to freightbrokerlive.com, you'll see all the news articles that I either write myself or if you click on the opinion or something like that, that'll be all the blog posts that I write. I have my cost per mile calculators and all the different blogs that I write about it. The news is some of it's stuff I wrote. Others is just shit I grabbed off of other websites to link back to, just because it builds content, builds views on the site. You can click all the videos and it will have every single video that I've ever published, unless it's a really bad one and I delete it after. You can find my podcast on Google Play and the iPhone store, which should be in the upper right-hand corner on the page. Pretty soon, there's going to be a resources tab, which will have just helpful resources for brokers, for carriers, for shippers, whether you're looking for a truck or blah, blah, blah. Some of it will be referral-based business that I get paid for referring. Others will just be my opinion on who I think is good. And then I'm going to have it's just going to say, I think, free broker course or free courses or something like that. And I'll just have the 3 courses because I already have all the content built to be a broker, to be a dispatcher, and to start your carrier side and know how to do it. So I just got to figure out how to use a free system, essentially, because I'm offering it for free. So I have to use a free system so you could still do the courses in that capacity. And then just other stuff I'm going to keep adding on the site. So Paul asked, what video games do I play? I don't know where you got that from. I play Counter-Strike Source, the CSGO on the computer, on the PC. We've got an Xbox and stuff like that. I don't really play it. I just play CSGO a lot. So, I mean, that's essentially what I did the entire hurricane, and it ticked my wife off. But I used to stream it too, but now I just play it for fun. And I'm not very good anymore, but it's a good game. If any of you guys are like the old Doom guys or anything like that and used to play the PCs, it's a good game and it's cheap. You just need a powerful computer. Otherwise you'll lag out pretty bad. But yeah, I used to do that when I was back brokering before. I would work and I take a pause. Now I make videos from 1 to 2, but I used to take a pause from like 12:30 to 2 every single day and just play video games. every day. And it would, it just released. I can't play World of War. No, I don't know what that is. Maybe I'll look it up. Because I'll play Battlefield and stuff like that occasionally, but I like the first person shooters. I don't like any of that other mythical crap. But yeah, that's my video for today. Anyone have any questions, you can send me a message on Facebook, or you can go to the site and submit a form and I'll try to answer it. I can't always get to the questions as quickly as I want to, because I am working. I just stopped to make these videos, but typically afterwards I do all my tracking and shit, and then I go to the gym. Sorry, I swore again, Sandy, if you're still watching, but I go to the gym from like 3:30 to 6 o'clock every day. So, I also may do like a Patreon thing. I don't even know how it works or something, just to monetize more. Because here's one thing. I really like making these videos. As much as everyone hates it, I like making the videos. I like making the podcast. I like doing it quite a bit more than I like brokering, except I can't make the type of money I make brokering. So I'm trying to figure out different ways to monetize it so I am able to do it. So every now and then I may just pop something on my site or up on the Facebook. Just check it out. See, I'm going to use it by, there's this patron thing where it's people can volunteer, or not volunteer, but people choose, to have access to other material. And granted, I didn't want to do that, but I would love to be able to just make these videos and have a good referral type business. I don't know how to do it yet. So, all right, guys, take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.